Hello and welcome to the Championship predictions, and as always I do not have any affiliation with any of these clubs. My club has never even played in the Championship in my lifetime, so yeah, it's just based on my opinion. If you disagree, then
you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you will do nothing. Get the fuck out of here.
Right, let's get on to it. In 24th place, we have Rotherham United. So Rotherham got promoted through the playoffs, beating Shrewsbury Town after extra time to get promoted straight back, meaning that all three clubs came straight back. So Paul Warne is still obviously in charge, and they've made some, okay signings. Kyle Vassell, Rodak's come back on loan, Billy Jones, but I just don't think their side is good enough. I just don't think that they're much better than they were before. I don't think they're much better than last year. I just don't think they are any better than before. So that's my reason for choosing Rotherham as bottom. I just think they'll go down. I don't think they are good enough this time. Huge apologies to Jack, but I've gone with Bolton Wanderers to finish 23rd. So there's been a lot of off-field turmoil over the course of the pre-season, with the board not paying bonuses for them, surviving in the Championship. I don't know if that's been rectified now. I think it's been rectified, and they made some okay signings. Oztumer is a very, very good player from what I've seen of him. Jack Hobbs, Clayton Donaldson, Luke Murphy, Josh McGuinness. They're all good players. I just don't think as a squad, I don't think they are good enough to stay up. Phil Parkinson will do a good job to keep the club up, but I think they'll really, really, really struggle. But having said that, I think there'll be a few clubs that struggle, so there is a chance that they survive. But 23rd, I've gone with Bolton. So 22nd, I've gone for a little bit, not massive surprise, but I've gone with QPR under Steve McLaren. So Steve McLaren's last tenure at a club was at Derby, I think, and yeah, so I don't think that went too well. But they've had obviously a lot of off-field turmoil. Next January, they are under a transfer ban, and I'm not impressed with their signings. They've signed one player, Tony Lesnar, from Union Berlin. They had a friendly recently, so maybe that was part of the deal. But anyway, he came on a free transfer, and then they've had a couple of players come up from the youth team. They've lost some experienced campaigners, Nedim Manua. They've lost J. Emmanuel Thomas, James Perch, Jack Robinson, Jamie Mackey, and Alex Smith. Whether they would have played or not, I don't know, but they are experienced players who've been there for an awful long time. Mackey has been there for years and years and years. So they've lost a lot of experienced campaigners. They have the FFP, and I think they've made some bad signings, and I really think they'll struggle this time. They might not get relegated, but I think they will be down there for sure. I just can't see them doing very well. I think it's going to be a season of struggle. Next we have Bristol City. So Bristol City have made some good signings. Mo Isa, they've signed Jack Hunt, Marley Watkins, Vyman, and they've also signed Adam Webster, but they have lost some real big players. They've lost Aidan Flint, who is a massive player for them. They've lost Magnarsson, and they've also lost Bobby Reid, of course. And they made some decent signings. I just think those losses will be a big impact, and I'm not sure if Mo Isa will be a good replacement for Bobby Reid. Their form dropped off last season. They've lost key players. They may, if they get it right, they could finish in the playoffs. But if it goes wrong, they could really struggle. And that's that's what I'm concerned about with them losing, two massive players. They've struggled before, and then they got out of it. And I don't think they're in any danger of going down. Really, I just think they'll struggle for a big period of time. So in 20th place we have Wigan Athletic. So Wigan came up as champions, I think, and they've improved their squad with some young players, and also re-signed Callum McManaman. They've not lost anyone of note over the summer. They've got a good manager in Paul Cook. I think they'll be easily safe, and I think they will have a good a season of consolidation, which is really important. 19th place we have Reading. So Reading have bought pretty well, I think. Mark McNulty's a good signing. Yeardom is a good signing. John O'Shea, Mailer, the list goes on and on. Sam Baldock, they've signed a few on loan. Oh wait, no, they haven't signed anyone on loan. Sorry. But they've made some really, really good signings. I just am not sure on Paul Cook as a manager. But I think they will stay up. Even if it goes totally wrong for Paul Cook, they could bring someone in and he could do a job, no doubt about it, and get them to stay up. So I think they'll be down there for most of the season. I had them originally to finish in the relegation zone, but I think their signings are good enough. In 18th place we have Sheffield Wednesday, who were so close at the end of 2 seasons ago now of promotion. They obviously lost to Hull. Or was it 3 seasons ago? Yeah, 2 seasons ago they lost to Huddersfield in the semi-finals, who obviously went on and won it. And then the season before that they lost to Hull in the playoff final. So they've been really, really unlucky. But Ross Wallace has gone, who's been a key player. Glenn Louvens, who isn't really that key. Jack Hunt and Jordan Rhodes. And they've not really... Well, they haven't signed anyone by the looks of this. They've just brought in under-23s. I'm not 100% convinced with the manager. I'm really not. They haven't really improved, and if they've signed no one, I think it could be a really bad season for them. I really think they might struggle. I mean, they still have some good players. I'm just not convinced. 17th place, we have Norwich. So they've signed Ben Marshall, they've signed Tim Krul, they've signed Jordan Rhodes, who previously played for Ipswich, of course. They've signed Pookie. So they've signed some players. I'm not really overly impressed with most of them. There's a couple in there that are decent. Krul, Jordan Rhodes. They've lost some real good players. Obviously, they've lost Murphy to Cardiff and James Maddison. They made £38 million in sales. That's incredible by Norwich. I've never really liked Daniel Farker as a manager. The signings, they're pretty average. I think they'll just be down there again. Which isn't good. Birmingham City are currently in a transfer battle, and that's who I've gone with for 16th. So they're currently have a transfer embargo. So they've lost Jason Lowe, Jack Storer, Andrew Shinney, Robert Tesher, and Czech Chieta, and Paul Robinson has retired. Now that's a shame. Really good player in his day. I have him on Football Manager 2009. He's been really good for me. Anyway, they brought in Christian Pedersen. And that's it. What have I written down here? So they survived on the final day, and I think Monk will be able to steer them clear from the relegation zone. And, I still think they'll be a lower team. But yeah, I think they'll be involved in that picture. I just don't think they'll be relegated. So yeah, I think that I think they'll be okay under Gary Monk. I think he's a decent manager. I just think everything else that has happened, I think they'll still struggle. 15th, Blackburn Rovers, who came up as runners-up. So they've made some young signings. Casey Palmer from Chelsea, who on loan, who is very, very good. They have Jacob Davenport as well. They've made, a couple of additions to a very, very good side. They've not lost Dak, who was very good for them last season, and I think they will be up fine on Tony Mowbray. He's done really well since he went there. They were really unlucky to get relegated. They beat Brentford on the final day, but Nottingham Forest beat Ipswich, and I think there was another result that didn't go their way. That might have been Birmingham as well, but I think they'll be well clear. 14th place, I have gone with Ipswich Town. So Ipswich have had a season of transition. They lost, well, he left, didn't he? Mick McCarthy, who had been in the club for a very, very long time, and they've gone with Paul Hurst, a up-and-coming manager. I've been really impressed with his transfer dealings. Trevor Chalobah should be a good signing. They've also signed Gwion Edwards, who was really successful at Peterborough. Really good player. Ellis Harrison, another good player who's done really well. Going out, they've lost Adam Webster, but I think they will sign Toto Nsiala and John Nolan from Shrewsbury. So quite unprofessionally, really. Hurst made an offer via text message, which I think is really unprofessional. Should go for the club, and it's sad that he's done that. After Shrewsbury gave him the chance in the League One. But if they sign those, I think they'll be fine. I don't think they'll be anywhere near the relegation zone. I think they'll finish above Norwich, which I'm sure will go down very well with the Tractor Boys. Maybe they'll push up into the top half. But yeah, I really rate Paul Hurst. I really hope he does well. He's been so successful. I think he's been promoted everywhere he's been besides Shrewsbury. So he was with Boston. He did really well with Boston. I think he got promoted with Eccleston before that. Then he went to Grimsby and obviously got them promoted from the National League. And then he went to Shrewsbury and did an incredible job at the Greenhouse Meadow. Is it still called the Greenhouse Meadow? Or was it the Montgomery Waters Meadow? At the new Meadow, or whatever it is these days. So, next we have Sheffield United. So Sheffield United finished around mid-table after having a great start to the season, and this summer they brought John Egan from Brentford. They've signed Dean Henderson on loan, who was really, really good goalkeeper from what I saw of him last season at Shrewsbury. I don't know why I said Shrewsbury. I live in Shropshire. I was born in Shrewsbury. It's definitely Shrewsbury. They signed Keane Bryan from Man City on a free, and they've also signed Ben Woodburn. Very interesting. He's still 18, so he's still really young, but that could really, really work out or not go so well. In their out, they have obviously lost. The big move was David Brooks, the young Welsh international, has gone to Bournemouth for around 12 million. Other outs, there's nobody really of note. There's a lot of loanees gone out. Clayton Donaldson has gone to Bolton on a free transfer. I just think there are some really good sides this year, and I think that will hurt them. I don't think they'll be anywhere near the relegation zone. They might be involved in the playoffs and just fall away like they did last year. But I really rate Chris Wilder. I think he's done an incredible job at Sheffield United, and potentially with another few additions, they could push for the playoffs. But obviously, I'm recording this on the 2nd of August, so it could, things could change between now and the end of the season, end of the transfer window even. Players could come in, players could leave. So we don't know yet. In 12th place, we have Brentford under Dean Smith, who used to play for Hereford. He was Hereford's record transfer at £80,000. Brentford. So they've had a really good rise, and they've been around a mid-table club. I think the first year they were in the Championship, they did finish in the playoffs, and they lost to Middlesbrough in the playoff semi-finals, and I think Middlesbrough lost to Norwich. They've signed 4 players. One's come up from Brentford, so let's not ignore that one. But the rest, they've signed Konsa from Charlton, Julian Genvia from Reims, and they've also signed Ben Ramar from Nice. Now, these players, particularly the French ones, you never know how they're going to go. They could go really well, they could go really badly. And they've lost their captain, and then they've lost a couple of other players as well. Those could potentially hurt Brentford. I think they've lost, some key players. Whether these 2 lads that's come in that can play centre back can fill that void, I have no idea. I think they'll just have a very similar situation to what I said with Sheffield United even go into the playoffs and then maybe fall out right at the end. I don't think they've really improved much. So I expect them to be around mid-table again. 11th place, a big mover is Hull City. So Hull City have kept hold of their main talents, and they brought in some decent players. They brought in Todd Kane on loan from Chelsea. They brought in George Long. They brought in Eric Lehigh. They brought in Reece Burke, and then they've brought in Diviz and Milankovic from Genoa. Going out, nobody really of note besides they've lost a couple of OAPs there in Sebastian Larsson and Michael Dawson. Also lost Abel Hernandez and David Mailer, but I really like the signings they've made. 21, 23, 24, 24, 24 young, hungry players. Nigel Atkins came in and steered the club to safety after the reign of that Slutsky, who was the Russian manager. So he came in and sorted them out. And I expect them to be nowhere near that relegation zone again. I expect them to be around mid-table. So into 10th place we go, and this time I have gone with the mighty Millwall. So Millwall have made a couple of good signings, Ben Amos and Murray Wallace, but out nobody really of note besides Tim Cahill, who I assume will go back to Australia. So Millwall have a really good season. Last year I think they way overachieved. They were just outside the playoffs under Neil Harris, which was a really good season. I don't think they've improved much. I think they might be around that sort of playoff picture again. I just don't think they're good enough for the playoffs personally, which is a shame because I think they'd offer something in the Premier League, believe it or not. They have quite a bad sort of reputation, Millwall fans, but when Hereford played them, they were absolutely delightful. I can't say anything bad about them at all, because when during that incident they were lovely. So 9th place, I've gone with Swansea under their new manager Graham Potter. Now I'm really chuffed to bits, if you will, about the situation, because it's really nice to see him he's totally different to what most managers do. He's been abroad and now he's come back to Britain to manage. I don't know how this will go. My feeling is it will go okay. I think he might need just a touch more time to sort everything out. So we're going to focus on the outs first, and they have made £20 million in player sales, which is very good. Angel Rangel has left the club. He's been a long servant. Leon Britton retired, who has been absolutely phenomenal for the club. He played in the game where they almost got relegated and they saved on the final day at the Vetch Field. He's been a legend for the club. Sometimes that is overrated, but it's not this time. It is not this time. He has been a legend for Swansea City. They've lost Sung Yong Ki, who has gone for a free transfer to Newcastle. Andre Ayew has gone out on loan to Fenerbahce. He'd be on rather big wages. Kyle Bartley has left for West Brom. He could have easily been a good player in that level. I don't know why they didn't keep him. Rocky Meza had a terrible time of it in Wales, and he has gone back to Spain, signing for Sevilla, where he spent the end of last season. And they've also lost their very very good goalkeeper Lucas Fabianski as well. Signing in, so we have Bernas Sant Selina, who was with Ipswich last season. He's signed from Manchester City for £3.5 million. They've also signed Asaro. They've signed Barry Mackay. They've also signed Jan Denahanda and a young fullback Goyeva from Real Madrid under 19s. So I haven't heard of most of these signings. I've heard of them, but I'm not sure how they'll get on. He has gone with youth and in a big style here. Selena is 21, 19, 23, 19, 19. I expect some more movement before the end of the window from Swansea City. They still have a really good squad. I just feel like they will need a bit more than what they have to get into the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see how Graham Potter does. Obviously, their manager before was Carlos Calvejao. They might lose a couple as well. Alfie Mawson seems like he's on his way out. As of recording, he's meant to be leaving for Fulham. They still have some good players. Montero should be good at that level. Wilfred Bonney is still at the club. So he should score goals. Leroy Fer is decent. Nar Singh, Sam Clucas, Routledge. They still have a decent squad, and I just feel it might take a little bit of adaptation for Graham Potter. In 8th place, we have another side that is going to miss out on the playoffs once again, and that is unfortunately Preston North End. So Preston have made a few signings. Interestingly, they signed Graham Burke, who signed from Shamrock Rovers, and what is really interesting about him is he used to play in the League of Ireland, obviously for Shamrock Rovers, and he scored for Ireland against, I think it was America, and he was the first player to score for Ireland who played in the Irish League for about 40 years, and that's an interesting signing. They've also signed Andrew Hughes from Peterborough, Michael Crowe from Ipswich Town, and Ryan Ledson signed for just over $1 million from Oxford United. Going out, unfortunately, they lost Greg Cunningham, who moved to Premier League New Boys Cardiff. John Welsh has dropped down the leagues to Grimsby, and Owen Doyle has left as well. So Andrew Hughes should be the alternative option for Greg Cunningham. I don't think they haven't lost much. I don't think they've gained a lot. I just think that they'll be around that sort of playoff picture again. I say this for every club. I just think they'll just miss out, which is a real shame because Alex Neil is a really good manager. 7th place. This is the last position outside of the playoffs and the automatic positions, and unfortunately the team just missing out will be West Bromwich Albion. So what have I written down here? They've made some good signings. Sam Johnston is a very good goalkeeper. Kyle Bartley is a good signing at that level. Connor Townsend should be good as well. They signed Jonathan Bond and Harvey Barnes. Going out, they have lost Johnny Evans, Ben Foster, James Morrison, Claudio Jacob, Gareth McCauley has left, and James McLean. So they've lost a lot of experience in that side. Also, as a side note, they have re-signed Boaz Myhill after releasing him. They still have a lot of good players in that side, and I expect them to. It'd be interesting to see if they can keep hold of Rondon. I feel like if they could keep hold of him, he could offer so much in the Championship. He's a big physical striker. Hal Robson-Kanu could also do a job. They have some good players, but they also have some very young players like Oliver Burke, and then they have Jonathan Lecco, Rakeem Harper, Sam Field, and but they do have that experience. Matty Phillips should have a really, really good season. I really hope they do well. I really do. Darren Moore deserves his chance, and hopefully he grabs it by the horns. But I've gone for them to just finish outside of the top 6, which would still be a good season for them. So in 6th place we have a big spending side, and that of course is Nottingham Forest. So they're managed by Aitor Karanka, who has been promoted before with Middlesbrough, and he was also part of the previously mentioned Middlesbrough side that lost in the playoff final. I think they'll have a really good season. I'm really quite impressed with their signings. Gonçalves has signed on loan from Benfica. They've also signed Jack Cole back on loan. Costel Pantilimon has joined. They signed Luke Steele. Jack Robinson, it should be a good signing. Michael Dawson is very, very experienced. Figueiredo, they have signed from Sporting Lisbon. Lewis Graben, 7 million, good deal. Well, I mean, all of these are in euros, so I might be getting these transfers wrong. But the main move was João Carvalho from Benfica. I mean, if he gets it right, that could be a great move. They've had players go out, but nobody really massively of note, which is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, they've made some really impressive signings. I think that they will be in the top 6 and will challenge again for promotion after a long stint of being away from that sort of top area, an awfully long time. But yeah, I think they'll do really well. In 5th place we have Frank Lampard's Derby County. It could go wrong with the new manager, but they've had some really impressive results over pre-season. They've looked quite good in pre-season. They've signed some decent players. They've signed Joe Fazoon from Brentford. They've signed Jack Marriott, who I think will be very good for Derby. Harry Wilson, Mason Mount, George Evans, young players. And having said all this, they already have a really good squad. So they've lost Vyman, and then they've released a few players. Chris Bird, Jason Shackle and Darren Bent have all moved on to other things. Those players won't really be missed, I don't think. But they already have a really good squad. Scott Carson, Vidra's move collapsed. They have Cameron Jerome, who was really good for them last year. Joe Ledley, Anya. They have Tom Lawrence, who could potentially have a good season. Richard Keogh, Kelly Roos. They have so much talent. I think that they will be a playoff team. I think Lampard will be a good manager. So I'm not sure how many people will agree, but 4th place we have Aston Villa. So it's been an interesting few years at Aston Villa. They've lost some players here: Gabriel Vonglahor, Chris Samba, John Terry. Are all really experienced players and have all done decently, but the other players they lost haven't really been involved with the squad last season. They signed a goalkeeper as well after losing Johnston, who went back to Manchester United and signed for West Brom. I just feel that they haven't really lost anyone. They signed another goalkeeper in Moreira from Atletico Madrid on loan. I just think that they could make a few moves right at the end of the season and they'll be okay. Besides Terry and Samba, if they keep hold of Jack Grealish, I think that's the key to the side. If they keep hold of Grealish, then I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be in the playoffs again, just because they've had a lot of off-field turmoil, which fair enough they have. I don't think that they've lost too much in that side, so I think they'll be around the playoffs again. 3rd place we have Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds United. So I think he'll have a huge influence on the side. I think he knows how he wants to play. This is another one. It could go really well. It could go really badly. But I think it'll go quite well. Hopefully I'm right for Leeds' sake. So they've lost Ronaldo Vieira. He has moved on to Sampdoria for £7 million. But they've made some really good signings. Patrick Bamford is a good sign. Hopefully he can find his goal scoring form after struggling with Middlesbrough. Barry Douglas, who recently won promotion with Wolves. Lewis Baker is a great loanee. Jack Harrison, he didn't do too well with Middlesbrough, but hopefully be able to get the best of him. And Jamal Blackman, a very good goalkeeper who's been on loan at Sheffield United. So some really good signings there. I think Bielsa's a very, very good experienced manager, and it'll be interesting to see how he takes the Championship. So yeah, I think they'll have a really good season around the playoffs. And then we go to the top 2. So if you haven't worked them out already, second place we have Stoke. So Stoke have done some impressive business. Benik Afobe, Tom Ince, James McLean, Adam Federici, are all decent signings. Obviously they've had a lot of outs, but one person they have kept hold of as of recording is Jack Butland, who could be a huge influence. They've got some really good players still. Mambaram, Juf, Sadio Berahino could finally score a goal. As crazy as that sounds, Bojan is back. It'd be interesting to see how Tyrese Campbell gets on. They still have Peter Crouch. I said to someone the other day, I think Peter Crouch could be a real bonus for Stoke. These big players seem to do really well in the Championship, so maybe he will also do it again. They still have Moting, they still have Joe Allen, Martin Zindi, Charlie Adam. They still have some really good players, and they've added to that. They've lost some players as well, so let's go on to that. They've lost Kevin Wimmer, who has gone out on loan to Hanover. I don't think he'll be missed at all. He was absolutely dog shite for Stoke. They've lost Lee Grant for $2 million. Once again, he wasn't first choice. He was second choice, I think, and they've already replaced him with Federici. Button will be number 1. They've lost Muniz, but I think he spent last season on loan at Girona, and that's where he's gone for £5 million. Ramadan Shobi didn't really show his best. He's gone for £7 million, and of course Jadon Shaqiri has left for around £13 million. So those signings are decent. McLean, Tom Ince will replace going outs such as Shaqiri and Ramadan Sobi. They've lost a couple of big earners as well, which is really good. Glenn Johnson and Stephen Ireland. Benik Afobe will be a real big plus. I think they'll do it. I think they'll be promoted again under Gary Rowett. Gary Rowett is a manager I really like his style, and he got the best out of people like Cameron Jerome and David Nugent, which is why I say Crouch could have a really good year with Stoke. Number 1, we have Middlesbrough. So Middlesbrough finished in the playoffs last year and lost to Aston Villa, who obviously lost to Fulham. Under Tony Pulis, he took them out when they were just outside the promotion area, and he's done really well. They still have some really good players. They have such a good squad, such a talented squad. Konstantopoulos, they have Ryan Shotton is very good, Ben Gibson, Grant Ledbetter, Britta Sombolonga. They still have Martin Braithwaite, who's come back from a loan. Whether he'll go out or not, I don't know. They have Darren Randolph, Marvin Johnson, Dale Fry. So they still have a really good squad, and they've added to that squad with Paddy McNair and Aidan Flint. So they've boosted their defence. They've lost a couple of players. They've lost Fabio for €2 million, and they've also lost Patrick Bamford for £7 million. So I think they will get promoted. I think they'll finish top. He knows what he's doing when it comes to this sort of thing. So I am going with Tony Pulis' Middlesbrough to win the league. So let's just do a quick rundown of that. So relegated, we have QPR, Bolton, Rotherham, and then worst to best we have Bristol City, Wigan, Reading, Sheffield Wednesday, Norwich City, Birmingham City, Blackburn Rovers, Ipswich Town, Sheffield United, Brentford, Hull City, Millwall, Swansea City, Preston North End, and West Brom. In the playoffs, we have from worst to best Nottingham Forest, Derby County, Aston Villa, and Leeds. And top, we have Middlesbrough with runners-up Stoke City. If I could probably change one, it'd probably be Bristol City to finish a lot higher. To be fair, I'd already sorted all the graphics out and shit, so I'm not going to go back on it. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it overall. You know, there are some that could finish a bit higher. There are some that could probably finish a bit lower. I think QPR is a bit of a gamble, but yeah, I'm really happy overall. Please tell me your predictions below on how you think the game and the season will go on. Do you agree with my predictions? Do you disagree? Tell me your thoughts down below. I'm always interested to hear everyone's thoughts. So, you know, I don't really know a lot about the Championship, but I will be watching a lot more of it. I'll be covering it hopefully in the summer, over the season even. Yeah, so I plan to cover it a bit. I'm going to write down later what my plans are for the season. So hit subscribe if you're new. Thanks so much for watching this video. Thank you for watching till the end as well. It really means a lot. My name is Mike, and I will see you soon.